5 is an open-world, cinematic storytelling game set in the city of Los Santos, San Andreas, a fictional place made to mimic Los Angeles, California. GTA 5 stands as one of the most controversial yet extremely successful video games ever made, with Statistica stating that as of May 2025, the game has sold over 215 million copies worldwide. GTA is known for its unapologetic depiction of modern capitalistic society, using many tools within the game to mock and exaggerate the people living within them. Today I'll discuss how violence is a core part of GTA 5 and how the game's mandatory use of it is unethical towards the player. Gameplay mechanic of GTA. Players cannot complete the game's story without it. From the opening heists to random street brawls and large-scale shootouts with police, nearly every aspect of the game involves some form of violent interaction. Players can engage in gunfights, steal cars, beat pedestrians, and destroy property. The violence is graphically rendered and sometimes shockingly realistic. What I think sets GTA 5 apart from many other violent games is the degree of freedom it gives players. The game doesn't require a reason for violence, like games such as The Last of Us, which uses violence as a necessity, not a free choice. Rather, GTA lets the player fight and kill almost anyone they want without in-game consequences. This freedom promotes the idea that violence is normal within society and doesn't have any consequences. Research conducted by the American Psychological Association in their 2010 Violent Video Game Effects on Behavior study showed that whilst violence in video games doesn't necessarily make players more violent, but rather it has an effect on their empathy and pro-social behavior, often making players more desensitized to violence. GTA 5's storyline takes an estimated 32 hours to complete, with almost every mission revolving around violence. The players are certainly being exposed to violence for a large amount of time. This doesn't even take into account the online mode, which is estimated by multiple sources such as IGN and GTA forums to have around 2,000 to 2,500 hours of gameplay. Another aspect of GTA 5's violence is the realism. For example, if the player was to run over a pedestrian in a car, there isn't just a thud, but a detailed ragdoll, often with blood trails and panicked onlookers. The surrounding NPCs also act with emotion, screaming, fleeing, and calling the police. These elements make violence in GTA 5 feel tangible and blur the line between game and simulation. Research conducted by the Journal of Adolescence in 2004 suggests that repeated exposure to realistic violent media can reduce emotional responsiveness to real-world violence, which is worrying considering GTA 5 is a game that revolves around realistic violence and almost mocks the idea of fear and empathy. So how can it be ethical to make players commit violent acts? Story mode features 3 playable characters: Michael, a retired bank robber; Franklin, a gang-affiliated criminal; and Trevor, a violent sociopath. Each of these characters represent a different aspect of criminal activity. But what's worrying about this is the player isn't given a chance to take control of their actions or to do good. They are only allowed to follow the criminal story. Pushes the moral and ethical boundaries to the limit. He's brutally violent and kills without remorse. In one of his most notable missions, By the Book, Trevor brutally tortures a restrained man, using tools such as pliers and a car battery to inflict as much pain as possible. The player is required to perform these tasks to progress the story, without any other choice, despite the mission's graphic and disturbing nature. This mission alone forces the question: if the player must commit atrocities to advance the story, then who holds the ethical burden, the player or the game designers? In 2009, philosopher Miguel Sicart argued that video games are ethical machines that generate moral meaning through player agency. But if there is no agency for the player to make decisions, then is it entirely unethical to make the players commit acts such as torture or murder? Rockstar Games has attempted to deflect this statement by saying the game is entirely satirical by mocking American society, but satire requires a boundary that GTA doesn't always follow. For example, the game's system rewards players for committing acts of murder and robbery through in-game money and experience points. Furthermore, the game's story glorifies a criminal success through the main characters. Michael lives in a mansion with fast cars and boats. Franklin goes from struggling to rich by slowly becoming a criminal, and Trevor's story is progressed through sheer violence, rewarding the player's brutality. So how can a game that claims to be satire reward the player for living a life it's supposed to be mocking? Example of how violence and ethics work together in video games. Its realistic portrayal of violence and repeated glorification of crime makes it extremely controversial, especially from an ethical viewpoint. Whilst Rockstar Games insists that the game is meant to mock American society, it does it in the wrong ways, forcing violence and crime on the player to player base to progress the story, breaks ethical boundaries, and the inescapable violence that the game revolves around makes for a concerning yet engaging game. For GTA 5 to not cross the line between mocking and celebrating violence, some crucial changes must be made.